Think you need needles to make a blanket? Think again. With just your fingers and some chunky yarn, you can make this exact blanket, and I'll show you how. Hi, I'm Renee from Martha and Me. Stick around to the end of the video and I'll show you how easy it is. All you need is some super chunky yarn. That's it, no tools required. I made a lapghan size, which is just an afghan that's a lap size. I'm going to use that when I crochet, sitting on my couch. My legs always get cold. So I think that'll be really nice to keep me warm. And for that size, I used about 6 skeins, 162 yards. I got this from Amazon and it came in a little bundle of 8 skeins. So I used 6 of those for my blanket, and then I just used the other 2 for a pillow, and I'll do another video on the pillow later. If you just want to practice, 1 ball of this super chunky yarn will do just fine. So we're going to begin by making a foundation chain, and this just the same as if you were crocheting. If you're knitting, it would be like casting on. So to do this, we need to do a slip knot. And in this super chunky yarn, I want to keep a pretty long tail, maybe a foot long even, because you'll see that when we're working it in, we need a longer tail for chunky yarn. So here I go. I got it draped across my hand, and I'm going to go around my fingers and just have a loop. And then the working end of the yarn is going to be behind that loop, and I'm just going to take my fingers. This is what I would use my crochet hook normally, but I'm just going to take my fingers in this case and pull it up, and there I go. There is my slip knot to start. And as you see, a slip knot is just a loop. So we basically made our first loop. Now, to talk about size, you can do each one of these loops any size you want, but you don't want it too big because then you'll have gaps in your completed blanket, and you don't want it too small because you won't be able to fit your fingers through to pull the next loop through. So for the lapghan I made 3 fingers for this foundation row. 3 fingers. So here I go. I have my slip knot, and it made a 3-finger loop. And now we don't worry about the tail. You just let the tail go there. And we're going to be working this way. So I always put my yarn the side that we're going to be working toward, and get plenty of it up here. But the ball itself, the major portion of that yarn is going to be on that side. And I'm just going to reach through or push through another loop. But remember, we want it consistent, and so I'll take my 3 fingers and put it through there. Just because you're measuring with fingers, it's a little bit less precise. You know, if I can feel all the edges on my fingers on this loop, I want to feel the edges of my fingers on the next loop. If it's tight on one loop and bigger on the next loop, it's going to be wonky. So and it won't take long before you'll be able to eyeball the sizes. Now look, that already looks like even sizes. And let's pull through again. And I'm going to test that with my 3 fingers. Perfect. And we just keep going. And so I'm just going to do a swatch to show you so I can get everything in a timely manner to you. All the information you're going to need. And there's 3 fingers. And I'm going to make 6. Oop. See, I pulled on that, so it made it too tight. I can't even get 2 fingers in there with that. So let's stretch it out. Not too big. There you go. And now for my lapghan, I made 42. I wanted it 42 inches. And so it was actually 18 stitches, 18 of these loops. But you'll have to play around with it with your tension, your loop sizes, your actual yarn. play around with it, but the lapghan should be about 40 inches wide, and the foundation chain should always be a little wider, tiny bit wider, so that it doesn't look too tight. There we go. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I can see, look at how big this is. I must have, let's go back. That's going to happen more than once. Yep, that's pretty darn big. I just want it to be one, and you can tell by the bumps here. This is just a knot. Don't worry about this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great. So I have 6 across just for my swatch. And I push this loop through, but that's not going to be in row 1. It's not going to be my foundation row. I'm going to lay it up like this. And that's going to be the start of my first actual row. And for this, I'm going to only use 2 fingers because I found in making my blankets that the foundation row was way too tight. And then when I was doing my other rows back and forth, the blanket got wonkier out this way. So now when I make a blanket, I make the foundation row just a little bit bigger loops and the body of it a little smaller loops. So 2. And now, since I'm going this direction, I'm going to move all my yarn over here, and it's just much easier. And we're just going to keep on going. We're going into this foundation, each one of these chains. And now you can see I'm in this one, so let's go into this one. And I'll push up or pull through, whichever way you want to do it, another loop that's 2 fingers wide. And keep on going. I've done 3. 1, 2, 3. 4. 5. And my last one here, 6. Now forever after, it's going to be easier because you had to kind of find where to pull those through, and from now on, this is pretty obvious. But count at the end of every row. It doesn't matter much for our 6 loop swatch, but wait till you have, 18, 20, 30. It's going to matter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. So I haven't dropped any stitches. So to start the next row, you'll just go through each one of these loops, and I'll just pull up to this one, and I'll make it 2 fingers, 2 fingers wide, and just keep on going till we get 6. You can see how fast it can go. Another thing to watch out for is that you have space in between this loop and this loop. And if I just left this separated like this and just made my loop here, it wouldn't take long for this blanket to be going out. So I take my next loop and I snug it up right against the loop in front of it so that there is no gap there. And it will stay the same width all the way across. So snug it up and pull it through. It's a hard lesson I had to learn. I had to rip out a blanket, and here's my last one. Snug it up and pull it through. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very good. And it looks like when this one gets tightened up, you'll see that this is going straight. So we're going to do one more row, and this will be the body of our swatch. So there's one, and snug it up and pull it through. Always checking to make sure I have room for 2 fingers and not too many. Snug it up, pull it through, snug it up, pull it through, and snug it up, pull it through. Our last one, snug it up, pull it through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I haven't dropped a stitch, and my mini blanket here is nice and straight. And we're ready to finish this off, our little pretend blanket. So you're learning each one of these steps in the blanket. And you see how easy this is? It's really easy. One thing to think about for our very last row is that I also make that a little bigger than the body. So I've made the body 2 finger widths size loop. I made the foundation chain 3 finger size loop, and I'll make this very last row 3 finger size loops, and you'll see why when we bind off. So here I go. You do it exactly the same. It's just the size of the loop that's going to be different. Well, that's only 2. Let's make it bigger. There we go. Snug it up, pull it through. Make sure we can get 3 fingers. Nope, that's a little too tight. Snug it up, pull it through. After you've done a few stitches, 20, 30, you'll be able to eyeball the size of these stitches, and you won't have to keep putting your finger in. Snug it up, pull it through or push it through. Snug it up. It doesn't look, that looks a little tight. So I just check on it. And our very last one, snug it up. And pull it through. Now, we always want to work toward the yarn, the yarn tail, you might say. So just from my ease, I'm going to flip it over. You don't have to, but just I find it's easier for me. And the way we're going to do this is we have our 6 loops, and I'm going to take the second from the end, and I'm going to put it in that end loop. And I pull this one up. I take the third and I put it in that loop that's standing up, and I pull that one up. And then I take the fourth one, put it in there. You see why we needed bigger loops? Because we have to get it, pull it over 1 stitch and pull it up. Here we go. We'll go through this one. And the last one, pull it up. Go through this one. And so we have this one loop here, and look at the top of this. Look at how pretty that is, how it looks so finished. So this is just a tiny sample of what your whole blanket, and you do nothing else than what you did here on this sample. We've got a lovely foundation row. See, again, that bottom is nice and finished looking. We have the body of this blanket, and this is so soft. I wish you could feel this. Look at the other side. Both sides are good. And we have this beautiful top. So now we're going to take scissors, and leaving about a foot, I'm going to cut my yarn and go through that my tail through that last loop and pull it tight. And that's my knot. And now, just like we finish off other crochet projects, we weave in our ends. And we do this on chunky yarn still with our fingers. And we don't want this to come loose, and we want to bury this yarn. So I'm not going to need all this, but it just makes it easier when you have a nice big length. And then I have a little, look, it's sticking up a little bit. So as we do this, we'll make sure that that doesn't happen. So we'll just go into a very nearby stitch. You can, just by feel, you can find a place to pull that through. And in this case, since I had that little knob up there, look, I pull that and that little knob is completely gone. I just have my lovely little top. And I'm just going to go in and out of several stitches, and that will hold it pretty well. We go more than one direction, so I'll go a couple stitches this direction. It's like sewing, only with your fingers. Find another one. And this just buries it. This chunky chenille yarn is wonderful because you don't see, it's very forgiving. Look at that. You see any? No, you just pull it there and it just looks smooth and beautiful. Yes, I like it. Now, I would ask you to go all the way across and back. But in this case, I'm just, to save time on our video, I'm just going to clip this, and I'll give you a tip. Chenille yarn is notorious for working itself loose. That's why we want to make sure we hit 1 foot of our tail here, and we go back and forth, and we'll do the same thing on the other end. And I take Fabric Fusion, and I just put a tiny little dot. It doesn't impact the flexibility of your piece, and you can wash this. I just put a tiny little dot there and press it down into the stitch. And you can't see that. And I have my swatch here. And when this is an entire blanket, it is so nice and soft, and I'm looking forward to many nights curled up on my couch with my crocheting and having this lapghan across my lap. See, it doesn't take fancy tools to make something beautiful and practical. Start with a swatch and then move on to your own lapghan or full blanket. You'll surprise yourself with how quickly it'll come together. I'll be enjoying mine right here on the couch during my crochet time. Where do you think you're going to be using yours? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear. And if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and then share with your friends.